Good day, all, and welcome to another edition of Local Legislator Live at 11. I am your host, Charles Gates. We are a component of locallegislator.net, where our mission is to be the premier source of local election information in the United States and an advocate for the sustainability of local businesses nationwide. This morning, we have a special guest with us, Mr. David Mitnick. He is a resident on the Suffolk School Board and running for re-election. Good morning, Mr. Mitnick.
Good morning, Charles, and thank you for having me with you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Well, we do call these raw interviews. There is no fluff. There is no hyping this up. So let's get right to it. Mr. Mitnick, tell us about you, your education, your occupation, and why are you running for re-election for Suffolk School Board?
All right, thank you. Um, I was born and raised in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Um, I went to college there, and fortunately or unfortunately, I was ready to go to work after college as an elementary education teacher, and I drew a low draft number back in the early 70s.
Mm,
So while I was home on spring break, my senior year in college, I actually went for my physical to be drafted into the United States Army. I had two siblings who were also in the Army at the time, and my older brother counseled me that instead of being drafted, that I should enlist. So I enlisted upon graduation from college and took the summer off. And in September of 1971, I joined the United States Army and served for 3 years. And it was a life-changing opportunity for me. I worked on the psychiatric wards at Walter Army Medical Center, and I got to see a lot of different people in a lot of different situations. And it helped to shape my future career. After I got out of the Army, I started teaching in Norfolk, Virginia, and I used my GI Bill to get my master's degree in guidance and counseling. I knew I wanted to be involved in public education, but after my first year teaching, I also saw the need for school counselors and started that career in Norfolk in 1979, and it was one of the things I did during my 36-year career in education. I was a teacher. I was a elementary and high school guidance counselor. I was middle school adult education, high school administrator. Um, and I worked for the State Department of Education for 10 summers, directing one of the residential governor's school programs. And that was another great opportunity in my life. Um, I've lived in Suffolk since 1999. I moved here when I was working in Newport News Public Schools, and my wife and I built a home here in Suffolk, and it truly has become my home for the last 21 years. I retired from education in 2010, and since that time, I've been doing some community service work, volunteering in the schools. 2014, the opportunity came open in Sleepy Hollow Borough for me to run for school board in a special election at that time. The school board the school board member had moved out of the borough and the position became open. There was a three-way race in 2014, and due to a lot of hard work on my friends and my former students and my family, I was fortunate to win that election. And in 2016, I ran unopposed. And in 2020, I'm also running unopposed. Um, I want to stay on the school board because I still feel there's a lot of work to be done. Um, I um, always consider myself my own person. Um, and on the school board, I uh, don't associate myself with any clique or group or organization on the school board. I always vote for what I feel will be best for the students of Suffolk Public Schools and also for our employees. And I think there's still work to be done in that area. And hopefully, um, I'll have 4 more years to continue to work on that and accomplish that. My wife and I have been married for 48 years. We never had children, but between me being in education and her being a pediatric social worker at Children's Hospital, we had a lot of children in our lives. And I think both my wife and I have touched many, many students and hospital patients and their families over our 48 years together as a wedded couple.
Now, you said you were from Pittsburgh. Did the Army bring you to the Hampton Roads area? And by the way, thank you for your service.
Thank you. I was stationed at Walter Reed Army Medical Center, and my wife and I, when it was time to get out of the service, decided that we wanted to move a day within a day's drive to get back to our families in Pittsburgh. And my wife lived in the north central part of Pennsylvania. So we had come on vacation here in June of 1974. And it was a rainy week, so we got to see a lot of the area. And we went home and we both applied for positions here. And it's interesting. The first position I was offered in this area was in Suffolk Public Schools in 1974. Um, but we were already going to be living in Virginia Beach. And at that time, the roads weren't so good to get out to Suffolk. So um, actually, the week I was processing out of the Army, I got a phone call from Norfolk Public Schools, and they had a position available for me. And I accepted that position because I thought it would be a lot easier for me to commute from Virginia Beach to Norfolk. And my wife had accepted a position in Norfolk as well with the Department of Vocational Rehabilitation. Her job actually transferred down from Northern Virginia. So yeah, it's been a wild ride.
Okay. Okay. Now, in November, what is your full name on the ballot? And would you spell your last name for us?
David, middle initial P as in Philip, last name Mitnick, Mitnick.
Okay. Now, I see you said earlier that you don't involve yourself or associate with cliques or anything like that. But school board candidates are not required to disclose any political party affiliation. Do you associate with any parties at the moment?
Um, in the past, I've always voted for the person I felt was the best candidate for the position. But when it comes to platforms and party affiliation, I am affiliated with the Democratic Party. I always felt that what they stood for um, fit into my philosophy of life. And, I always felt that being a public educator, that I always felt that we were being looked after by the Democratic um, platform and the politicians, both locally and at the state level and nationally.
Okay. Now, have you ever held any previous public positions?
No, I had never ran an election, haven't been part of any elected body um, prior to 2014. So
Hmm.
that was that, running for election for the first time was quite an eye opener. Because considering particularly I was a very competitive race. I was running against an individual who had been a school board member previously and was appointed when Ms. Foster moved out of the borough. He was appointed back to the seat to fill it until the special election. So I felt like I had an uphill battle, but fortunately, because of my work as the 12th grade guidance counselor at Nasman River High School, the last 7 years of my career, I got to know a lot of people in the borough and I got to know their families as well. And on election day of 2014, I was delighted to see how many of them came out, and I got to meet them at the polls. And both the parents and the former students of mine were there to support me, and I credit them with me winning the election that year.
And you know what? I remember it well. I myself lived in Suffolk during that time, and I remember how heated it was during that election season. Indeed. If you
Yes,
are
sir.
viewing us right now and you like the interview that you're witnessing, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, join us on Twitter and Instagram. And remember to leave us a comment to tell us who or what you would like to hear from next. We will do our best to get that person or that organization's representative on the air as soon as possible. Now, Mr. Mitnick, you mentioned the fact that you volunteer within the school system. Have you had any other community involvement, and how has that helped you to prepare for? I know you've been down this road before, but how has all of that helped you prepare for this moment?
Yes. I always felt that my years in the Army um, was community service. Certainly, it. I learned from that it was so important to be a part of what you believe in, and um, the bodies that I belong to in the community, one of the ones I'm most proud of is I was a member of the board of directors of the Suffolk Education Foundation for 10 years. It's a nonprofit organization that supports Suffolk Public Schools through scholarships for students and teacher grants. And we also do recognition of teachers and always give to to the school community wherever we could. And I was fortunate enough to serve as the president of the board um, of the Suffolk Education Foundation. And they gave so much back to Suffolk Public Schools. And I was very proud to be a part of that organization. As the president of the organization, I also got an opportunity to serve on the board of directors of the Suffolk Community Foundation, which does outstanding work in the Suffolk community. They also um, give grants to other nonprofits in the community. And I served on the selection committee for both grants and scholarships for the Suffolk Foundation. Um, from that, I got a little bit more known in the community, and I was had an opportunity to become affiliated with Children's Literacy of Suffolk, and there was a nonprofit organization that went into the schools, some of our lowest performing schools, and they did work with children in their reading, and it was a very I served in the capacity just as one of the board of director members and also as the treasurer. But again, it was something I believed in the work that they were doing. And I was fortunate to be part of that organization. Um, in my neighborhood, the last two communities we lived in, I've been on the board of directors of the Homeowners Association and now the Condominium Owners Association. And it's another way of giving back to the community that you live in. Again, that's important to me to be able to give back. And shortly after I retired in 2010, um, I wanted to get involved in volunteering, and I started driving cancer patients to their appointments for the American Cancer Society. And that was a great opportunity as well. Got to meet some wonderful people who were going through some very trying times in their life. And, they, each one of them touched me personally, and I was glad I was able to contribute. And since I've been on the school board, I've made it um, a an annual thing. I volunteer in the elementary schools in my borough, both Creekside and Florence Bowser. Every Wednesday, I spend the day. On Wednesday mornings, I'm at Creekside and I volunteer there. And on Wednesday afternoons, I go over to Florence Bowser. And whenever John Yates Middle School needs me to volunteer, they also call upon me. And, I don't get in Nasm River as much as I would like to, but there just aren't as many opportunities to volunteer in the high schools as there are at the middle schools and the elementary schools. So it's helped me prepare for being a school board member, learning how to work with others as a team, certainly on the board of directors of the organizations that I've served, to be a compassionate person through my work with the American Cancer Society, and some leadership opportunities that have come up as the president of the Suffolk Education Foundation, treasurer of the board of directors of the Children's Literacy, and also as the president and treasurer of our Condominium Owners Association. So they've developed leadership skills, compassion, and caring for my community. And the school board is a wonderful opportunity to serve your community. Um, there were, back in the day, they were appointed by city council, but now it's become a nonpartisan position, but also an elected position. And serving the area that you live, representing constituents on the school board, listening to their concerns, being part of Parents for Better Schools Suffolk, Virginia as a Facebook group that I participate in. And I just feel like um, I have so much to give back to the community. And the school board, since I was an educator for 36 years, is a wonderful opportunity for me to do that. And I guess I'll be continuing to do that since I'm running unopposed for the next 4 years.
Okay, and now for the next 4 years, well, I would say if elected, but it seems inevitable. What are your four top goals going to be going into this new era?
Um, the first with COVID-19 um, and the schools closing down in March, and um, students doing virtual learning now, my first priority will be to get our students back to face-to-face learning as soon as possible, when it's safe to bring our students back into a healthy learning environment. And the reason this is so important because our students are struggling, particularly our younger learners. Put yourself in the position of a kindergarten student who don't have your literacy skills yet, and you may not have good computer literacy skills. And it's really hard for those students to be involved in virtual education. And, I read daily on particularly Parents for Better Schools, Suffolk, Virginia, the struggles of the parents and the students. Um, and I think it's getting easier as the weeks go on, but I think it's always going to be a struggle. And the second thing, it's a struggle for our teachers. Not only are they doing their teaching from 8:30 till 3 o'clock each day, but the hours of work that they're putting in to prepare their lessons and get them uploaded to the platform that we're using, it's frightening. We're going to burn our teachers out very quickly. and our teachers want to do a good job. Um, Canvas is not the easiest platform to use. Everything has to be loaded on it. All the lessons that our teachers are teaching, all the work that they are assigning to the students, um, being available for public sessions to answer questions. Um, there are teachers that are working 6 days a week, if not seven, from early in the morning to late at night. And it breaks my heart that our teachers um, are working so hard. So I hope that we can get back to face learning. Our teachers always will work hard, but I think it will be a lot easier for our students and our teachers together to get back to face learning whenever it's possible. Second priority I have, or the goal, would be to provide equity in the learning opportunities for all students in Suffolk Public Schools. Um, we have schools that are more fortunate than others because of the communities that they serve. And then we have schools that um, who draw from lower socioeconomic levels. And that's why I think equity is so important. It's necessary to provide for the needs of every individual student. And some students have different needs than others. And I think it's become more apparent during the COVID outbreak. Our students, um, we've been providing meals for them ever since school was let out on the 13th of March. Our students haven't been back to school since then. And we've been providing nutrition, 2 to 3 meals a day, plus snacks over the summer. Um, right now, every student in Suffolk Public Schools we're providing meals to. If they want them, all they have to do is go to the nearest stop or have someone go pick them up for them. And that's very important. And many students, both on free and reduced lunch, and students who are just missing school lunches are taking advantage of it. And I think we are helping our families out by providing those meals. We're also providing Chromebooks to all students. We started our initiative back in February where all middle school and high school students were provided a Chromebook. And currently, all students in kindergarten through 12th grade have Chromebooks or other devices that have been issued by the school system. Um, we're also providing hotspots called Kajets to families who have a hard time or don't have Wi-Fi available. Um, and with the virtual learning that we've gone to this fall, um, many students in our rural areas are struggling. And, you know, our technology department has made it possible. We have set up resource centers, 3 of them in the more rural areas of the community where our cable provider has not gone into the community. And they don't have the infrastructure necessary for picking up Wi-Fi in their homes. So we've set up resource centers in 2 of our schools and 1 community center. We've opened up the parking lots of our schools in the more rural areas of the city to provide 24-hour a day Wi-Fi service so that families can go to the parking lots of the schools in their community and download what they need to do so that they can get back home. Uh, that's become a real issue. And hopefully our city council is working on it. I know I've talked to my councilman and encouraged the city council to take a look at what can be done to extend the broadband to all areas of Suffolk. I'm not sure, because even when COVID has made it safe for our students to return to school, um, the ability to have connections through the broadband and Wi-Fi. It's very important for students that are growing up in today's technologically advanced age. Um, Other things that are happening in our community that are supporting our students are community organizations and churches that are opening their doors so that our students have a safe place that they can go and learn with help and tutors that the community is providing. And I think it's wonderful, and I hope it continues. Um, our churches are doing a wonderful job in supporting our students. The next thing I think we need to do is reduce overcrowding in schools. In 2018, I supported the superintendent's rezoning plan um, that would have um, rearranged students so that we didn't have, we weren't going to have any mobile units at all in Suffolk Public Schools at that time. And in my community, at that time, John Yates Middle School had 17 mobile units, and Driver Elementary School had 5 mobile units, and Creekside Elementary had 8 mobile units. And, that has, it makes a real hardship on our students and our teachers. Mobile units aren't the safest places for students and teachers to be. Um, yes, they can lock their doors, but there's just constantly the need for students to go to the building, to go to the bathroom, to pick up materials for their teacher, to go in for lunch, and oftentimes students are given the key to the building, and their teacher sends them in pairs to go, and the property between the mobile units and the school buildings is not necessarily secure. And I always feel that if we can reduce the number of mobile units that serve our schools, we would be much better off. Um, Unfortunately, the rezoning didn't pass at that point in time. There was a lot of families felt that they were going to be moved to a school that wasn't as high performing as schools that they were used to. Um, and they had a very loud community voice. And the rezoning plan citywide was defeated. And we did rezone for the 2 new schools that were going to open in the fall of 2018, which helped um, both Creekside and Driver and John Yates lost all of their mobile units. Were able to get the kids back in the building. We built a brand new middle school, Colonel Fred Cherry Middle School. It opened at 750 out of a capacity of 800 its first year. The second year, in 2019-20 school year, it was at capacity. Um, and the north end of Suffolk um, doesn't have enough space for the students that we need. The high school is overcrowded, Nasm River High School. 2 out of 3 of our high schools are overcrowded at this time. There is not a new high school planned in Suffolk. On the last, the capital improvement plan, the first time you see any money allocated for a new high school is 2028. And that's 8 years away before we're even looking at planning for a new high school. We need to be proactive in the city and look at how we can best meet the needs of our students. In the summer of 2019, the City Council and the school board worked jointly, and there is a facility studies going on. It's paid for by funds by the school board, some extra funds that we had from the building of Florence Bowser. and Colonel Fred Cherry, and there is a independent third party who's looking at all of our facilities and will be reporting soon to give us the results of their study. I hope that, you know, they come up with some solutions that we haven't been able to see in the past, um, as far as reducing the overcrowding. Um, you know, it's interesting that our high schools, Nazarene River High School, has a population of over 1,700 students. The same facility, Lakeland High School in the southwestern part of the city, has just a little over 1,000 students in the same facility. Um, you know, and it's very hard to shift high school students around. Um, and I hope that um, with the facility study, that we'll find a way that we'll be able to even out the distribution of our students. It's particularly hard for Nazarene River High School because it sits at the edge of the boundary line for it, and it serves all the areas to the south and east of Nazarene River. And, you know, to change the boundary lines of the schools, um, it's not impossible, but with the school sitting at the northernmost section of the city of the attendance zone, it's very hard. So I hope that the facility study will be another way that we'll be able to reduce overcrowding in our schools. The next and final thing is we need to work on improving the working relationships of our school board members. Um, it's embarrassing what we've gone through in the last years, and our job should be to work together to improve the educational opportunities for our students and to be able to improve um, our, our educational opportunities for our students and the working atmosphere for our employees. And right now, that's not always what's happening. So I hope that we will be able to improve the working relationships among our school board members. I ran on that in 2014, and you know, I, I will continue to work for that goal.
All right. Now, two more questions for you very quickly. The COVID environment has made all of us think and do things differently. And the school board, I would imagine, is no different. Now, I don't know whether you're meeting in person or not. So the question is, are you meeting in person? And if not, can you still be as effective working remotely?
Uh, our last um, school board meeting that I was able to attend in person was on Thursday, March the 12th. And on Thursday, March the 13th, our schools closed. Unfortunately, I have some underlying health conditions that um, at this time I do not feel safe, my own health, being among groups of people. Um, and I haven't attended in person a school board meeting. Uh, First, we're doing school board meetings virtually. The April school board meeting, the May school board meetings were done virtually. Um, Unfortunately, in April, I wasn't allowed, April and June, I wasn't allowed to participate in the closed sessions of the school board meetings um, because it felt that I wouldn't be able to um, maintain confidentiality in the closed session. And I missed out on being a part of conducting business for the school system that was discussed in closed session. And I continually asked for, wasn't there a way for me to be a part of closed session? after the June school board meeting, I worked with the superintendent and the chair of the school board. And we were able to come up with a way where now I go to the school administration building um, prior to the school board meeting starting, and I'm sequestered in the conference room on the 7th floor of the school board building. And from there, I'm able to participate in the school board meeting. I'm the only school board member that is participating remotely since June. We've been back in city council chambers for our meeting. Um, I do participate remotely. I am oftentimes, if there's not a speaker at the podium who's using a PowerPoint presentation, I'm with the gathering up on the screens. And the same thing happens during closed session. So I feel like I'm part of the board. I feel like I'm still able to do my job. I miss going into the schools. I'd like to be there to advocate for our teachers at this time and, say hello to them, but that's just not possible with my underlying health conditions. So I'm glad that the school board is able to continue to meet. I think we have to have an opportunity for people in the public to be able to come and speak, and for us to be able to hear what their concerns are. Um, the last couple of months, there's been many speakers who are concerned about virtual learning. We had one passionate gentleman um, who brought to attention the needs of the rural areas of having the broadband and Wi-Fi extending to their communities. He was very passionate about it. Other parents have spoken about, how am I supposed to work with my children? Um, and I feel for the members of the community. When parents have to go to work and they have to find a safe place for their students to work during the school day, someone to help them with their studies when they're on the computer. Um, you know, that's one of the reasons of getting our K-3 kids back into the buildings is very important to me. I feel like I'm living in a virtual world right now, and
Many
it's
of us do. Many of us do.
yeah, it's not easy, and I miss so much about what I was doing as a school board member, being a part of um, programs at the schools and volunteering in the schools and going out to support our students, and being part of the recognizing the achievements of our students. But hopefully, whenever there's a vaccine and it's safe, I'll be able to go back to my routine. Um, but until then, I just want the citizens of Sleepy Hollow Borough know that I continue to do my job. I'm constantly in contact with other board members and our superintendent. Um, I have a voice on the Facebook group, Parents for a Better School, Suffolk, Virginia, um, which has like 800 members to it. And, they probably represent thousands of kids in our school system. And it's in an important place um, to, to be able to answer questions and to correct some misinformation and just let them know what we're planning. And I feel very much a part of education through what's possible virtually.
All right, great. And the last question for you, sir, is how can we find out more information about you and your campaign?
I have a Facebook page. Just look up David Mitnick in a search and you'll find my Facebook page. Um, Through that Facebook page, if you'd like to do private messaging, My phone number's on the school board page of the Suffolk Public School website. I'm always available to talk to um, constituents at any time. And if I don't have the answer, I'll certainly get the answer and get back to you if I don't have it myself. So I'm available, and I hope that people will come out and support me. Just getting my name on the ballot during COVID-19 was not an easy task. My wife and I would drive through neighborhoods on the weekends with the hatchback of our van open, and I'd have my petitions and back there, and we'd see people out doing yard work, washing cars, walking their dogs, and we'd stop them and talk to them, and we're able to successfully over 3 weekends complete, getting my signatures. I was very worried about um, getting signatures, and the State Board of Election wasn't making it easy on it during COVID time. But
But through hard work, you and your wife and teamwork, you're able to get it done.
we were, and I also had some people in the community that were working as well, and I'd like to thank them for their help in getting signatures.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. Well, thank you, sir, so much for this interview. And for all of our listeners and viewers out there, you have been listening to Suffolk School Board candidate, Mr. David Mitnick, as he shares his platform and his bid for re-election for Suffolk School Board. Make sure you come out and check us out, and check us out on Facebook, and check out our YouTube page. Subscribe to it. Let us know what you would like to hear from. If you like this interview and you like more or less, tell us what you liked about it, what you didn't like about it, the questions you would like to hear us ask in the future. Twitter and Instagram, and we're on all those social media platforms. And Mr. Mitnick, thank you so much for your time today, and we wish you the best of luck.
Well, thank you, Charles. Thank you for the opportunity to another way to get to the constituents out there who are considering voting for me. And thank you for all that your organization does for the community.
You're welcome, sir. And to our listeners out there, again, this is Local Legislator Live at 11. I am your host, Charles Gates. And remember, we're not global, we're local, a component of locallegislator.net. Until next time, take care.